Let me tell you this. Lagos Talks, the University of Lagos Talks, actually does a lot when people really want to get their thoughts and opinions out. And for many of you will think, oh, I couldn't say this, I couldn't send this, my messages are not read. Well, this affords you the opportunity to send in those messages again and have your calls taken. The conversation around the papers happened to dwell on what Atiku Abubakar and Peter Obi said regarding their going to court. And of course, we also told you that the president-elect, Senator Bola Ahmed Tinubu, has moved to Abuja right now and is getting needful briefings for him to begin to learn the ropes before May the 29th when he will assume office. But of course, nothing is cast in stone because the courts are waiting to receive while his votes should not be validated or his candidacy or his election should not be accommodated as legit. Those ones are the realities of what we still have here. And that is why we're telling you that all hope is not lost for the people who believe that the mandate belongs to another party. Let us really go ahead and begin to take this. Obinna, I know you have a message. And please, Obinna, there's something that we will not do. Any message that is not properly put forward. Yeah. We have to also help people understand that the choice of words matter when other people are listening to you. So as the University of Lagos Talks, we also help people understand that civility, even whilst you're angry, is very, very important. Because when somebody is angry and spews violence, there's a tendency for others to do the same. And our own task is to prevent such from happening. Yeah. So, Obi, you want to read some messages, then I go
Okay, so I'm going to take some more messages of the people's perspective of everything that's been going on in the country as a whole.
It's actually their perspective.
So, yes, exactly. So, this is coming from Suraj from Ikoyi. He says, good morning to Mr. Kunnu. Suddenly, they've become so desperate and want to rule the zoo. We are sorry, animals don't live with humans.
What choice of what? I believe is not referring to people.
Yeah,
anything that denigrates another person will not be countenanced on this program, please. No. Yes, let's
Okay, so this is from Anthony from Marine. He says, good morning. I advise all Lagosians to come out again and vote in the next election. No one should get discouraged at this time, but go out there and cast their votes, as that will buttress the credibility evidence set forth by Peter Obi in court as to how many people actually voted in Lagos.
Yeah.
A voter apathy will work against such evidence.
I know that some people are discouraged already, Obinna, but nobody wins a war by retreating, especially in the thick of battle. The battle is not over. So for members of the APC, the Labour Party, the PDP, because it appears as if those are the three leading political parties for the common elections, I think it is important for them to come all out and see how they can vote, and at least vote really. Vote their conscience, vote rightly. It's important. So go ahead, Obinna. What others?
Okay, so this is from Adeboyega. Says, it has become a trend when people are being cheated, oppressed. The oppressors will ask the oppressed to go to the police station or to go to court because they know the oppressed will not get justice in the court. That is what INEC and Co. is asking Obi, Atiku, and others to do. My own take in all this Bulaba or Abracadabra election is, why did President Buhari make Nigerians to pass through the eye of a needle with the redesigning of the Naira that created cash scarcity that resulted in many lives lost, properties destruction under the disguise and excuse of providing credible election? And this is what we get as credible election. It is a shame.
Obinna, sincerely, this person spoke very brilliantly. This person spoke brilliantly, I must say. If somebody says the purpose of a thing is not known, abuse is inevitable. So the purpose of the cashless crunch is not known. And it seems as if there are lots of abuses. If you check really, the explanation given for going into this just about how many months into the election still cannot hold water. Now the major elections have been held and people are still suffering. Hoping I don't really get it. Doesn't sit well with me. Go ahead, please.
Okay, this is from Jake from Surulere. It says, hello, Professor Kunnu. The results of Labour Party, he quotes 3,829 votes in Obio Akpo of Rivers State, is a case Obiakpo, Obiakpo in Rivers State is a case study. The local government area has 1,211 polling units. I have downloaded results for just 25 polling units from IREV, and I have more than 4,000 votes for Labour Party.
Okay.
Wow. So that's just from 25 out of the 1,211. So he's questioning it, the whole thing.
I think those things will be part
of
what they will transmit to INEC when they go to the Elections Tribunal. And INEC knows what to do from there. So the necessary authorities will take steps. So if IREV has something that is different from what was pronounced or declared, most definitely they know what to do. Go ahead, please.
Okay, so this is from Joe. He says, "Good morning, Mr. Kunnu. I think you should talk to INEC for trying to set the country on fire by deliberately disenfranchising the people of Nigeria. Peter Obi never incited violence in any of his speeches before, during and after the election. And it is very wrong for you to refer to any Yorubas as naysayers."
Okay, I think some of our friends didn't listen to us when we started. Let's go ahead. More messages, then we'll take some calls, Obi.
Okay, so it says, "Good morning, Obinna and Kunnu. There is need for the media to avoid innuendo or to project a cause or push narratives. Disinformation is dangerous. Raising objection on the point of jurisdiction is not because the lawyer do not know his job or the law, but because jurisdiction is at the core of every case.
All right.
Such statement in public space is wrong and shows how much you know about the legal profession.
Okay.
The failure of APC in Kaduna is not because of Naira redesign, but because of several programs and actions of El-Rufai and his government that impoverished the people of Kaduna."
Well, they also told him when he was to go for the second time that the Muslim ticket may not be helpful because that's the narrative before he eventually left Balabantex, who was his deputy governor before now. But let's take some others.
Okay, this is another message from one of our listeners. He says, "Good morning, Adeniyi Kunnu and Obinna. It's not by speaking in mother tongue that translates to good governance. Are you saying that a candidate in a state like Cross River, which has over 200 languages, should campaign in those languages?"
There's a major language in Cross River, Obinna. It is Ibibio. It is actually Efik, I beg your pardon. Okay. So if you understood Efik, for instance, Yoruba has dialects of the language. The Yoruba language has dialects, okay? And every dialect when spoken, as far as it is Yoruba, I understand. So you do not necessarily have to. For instance, Lagos have Ijebu. It's a dialect of Yoruba. Lagos people have Awori. It's a dialect of Yoruba. Ogo language is linguistically different from Yoruba, but it is a Lagos language. So the average person who understands Yoruba in Lagos should be able to also understand Ijebu, should also be able to understand Awori. You understand?
Yeah.
So I think that is a position that I was trying to project, that at least you should have a grasp of it. For instance, in Cross River State, Ade speaks superb English, but many people have not commended his administration. In fact, I learned that he lost his bid to go to the Senate. So he lost his bid to go to the Senate. Somebody from, I think, the PDP actually dealt him bad blows and had superior votes.
Wow.
That's a sitting governor. Also in Enugu Island, that Ify Ugwuanyi also lost. Yes, Ugwuanyi. Then also, I think, in Abia. So I'm saying that some of the, and it's something that has not happened in recent time, even in Benue. So you have to ask yourself, what is the tsunami that is pushing these things such that some people that ordinarily they should have won are not winning? Bukola Saraki could not go to the Senate because he lost also somebody who had sat as the Senate president. The same fate was to befall Ahmed Lawan, who never participated in an election primary, and they cut us to tell us that as an aspirant you are different from any candidate. Then some other issues that happen, it's a cumulative issues that brings up a lot of questions. So Obi, let's see if we can have more. Yes.
Okay, so this is coming from Emperor Guru Zeus. Says, "Mr. Kunnu spoke almost perfectly. Win or lose, one should remember the law. We are here appreciating you, while I have a personal view about some things we misunderstood.
Go ahead, please.
Putting the army out there was misunderstood for security during the election, but to me, it's to keep citizens lawful after the results as they know what they want to do. Secondly, the Naira policy was to make sure a protest won't happen like NSAS, as protests consume money. I wish Tinubu well, even while I feel the process was a wrong one and that lacks dignity. He also added that, did Obi speak Yoruba before winning Lagos? Mr. Kunnu is brilliant than this, he said. He said this morning.
Oh, okay. Thank you very much. Well, let's know that the people who voted for Obi are not only Yorubas.
Yeah.
Igbos, Akwa Ibomites, Edo people who are in Lagos. So that's just it. And don't forget, it's a presidential election. But Obi speaks a Nigerian language. It's important.
True.
He speaks a Nigerian language. Igbo is very, very smooth. For those who have seen some videos. Yes, please.
Okay, so this is from Olumide from Apapa. Says, good morning, Obinna and Professor Kunnu. Tribalism and religion are the two things that can tear this country apart. I remember my dad saying how we will vote an Igbo man when there's a Yoruba man in contention. He even said so Igbos will not start thinking they are equal to Yoruba. Also on Twitter, the tribal war is crazy. Whether we like it or not, we are not one in this country.
I'm grateful for the candid opinion of that person. Obinna, whilst you still take that and let's have some callers speak to us. Please don't exceed a minute.
Okay.
Yes, please.
Okay, let me just take this message.
Yeah.
This says, good morning, Mr. Kunnu. I believe he doesn't have to speak everywhere he goes, and the deputy governor is there for a reason. So forget the language barrier. Sanwo-Olu is a betrayer with his Yoruba-speaking tongue. All right, so let's take some...
But Obi, hold on. Solomon Seal Samuel is here.
Okay.
Solomon Seal Samuel is somebody I've known way back from Akwa Ibom. Oge Bello Ugo is also watching us. Adebo Adetaiwo has a message. Mr. Kunnu, I want you to know that wounds on the flesh heals easily, but the wounds of the heart takes a long period of time for it to heal completely. May Nigeria survive? Fatai Salaman is back with us on Facebook Live. But Obinna, I think we should have... Let's take some calls.
Okay, so
a minute. We're keeping it to a minute, please.
Hello, good morning, Lagos Talks. Okay, we lost that person. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Yeah, hi, good morning. What's your name, please? Where are you calling from?
Good morning, Obinna.
Good morning, sir.
Okay, so for me, I'm looking at the quality of those.
Quality of what?
Quality of vote.
Okay, go ahead, sir.
You know, so we have some of the most educated people, or the people you say are elites. In Victoria, in Etiosa, voting for a candidate they do not know about.
Okay.
They've never read about him. They know nothing about him. These people are educated people, businessmen, voting blindly and ignorantly.
Okay.
So it's very worrisome. It's scary.
Oh.
So are we going to throw away the baby and the bathwater to prove a point?
Are you referring to like a Thaddeus Atasa?
Yes, of course.
Okay, all right. So you are talking about the voting pattern of the electorate because they just want one person out. They don't even
because
do...
and we say we want a new Nigeria. Is that a new Nigeria we want? A new Nigeria of ignorance?
Oh, okay. Thank you very much, my friend, for calling. I think that's a valid point that this person has raised, Obinna, that because you want a party out, you did not do proper finding about the person you're voting for. Because many people have come to say that we don't even know who Thaddeus Atta is. And some other persons will now start questioning a Thaddeus Atta. The name Atta sounds that is from Kogi. You understand? Maybe Ibira, maybe something like that. I know that some Atta are also from Kwara, depending on where. You can find an Atta also in Ekiti, depending on the proximity. Because Kogi State actually borders 10 states, according to some of the things that we have read. And but the Thaddeus Atta, the name by ancestry, is not from Lagos. So I think that this young man who called us has made a very valid point regarding the choice of person that you bring to office. Because if somebody is disenfranchised, that means you got disenfranchised and you vote for somebody who perhaps you know but is incompetent or self-serving, or you vote for somebody who is incompetent but you're allowed to vote for that person, then I think it's a problem also. Because somebody who perhaps doesn't understand the direction of a leadership could actually put the state in further confusion. Now, I just don't know how those people in Ethiopia, I am not from the island, I'm from the mainland, I'm from Badagry. So the person that they voted for my constituency is not the person they voted for here.
Yeah.
So the challenges that they will have for the next 4 years is known alone to them. I have gone to, I know a number of lawmakers, and I know what the office and the itinerary of the lawmakers look like. sincerely speaking, the character of this anybody who goes to Abuja to represent the people must first be sufficiently informed about the area, about the problems, and be able to do certain things that has to be done. Then you cannot be a federal lawmaker representing people without the support of that particular locality. You will be coming back to your constituency. So what is the level of acceptance? What is the level of openness that you have to have been able to penetrate that? So that person made a valid point. And I hope that the people of Etiosa Federal Constituency will not be beaten hard for making that choice.
Yes, so this is from one of our listeners. It says, Lagos Talks, I greet you. We really need to speak to the issue of area boys, miscreants.
Yeah.
Whose responsibility is it to address this menace?
Sanwo-Olu.
It's almost getting out of hand. You can't change your flat tire on Lagos roadside without being harassed or attacked. Part with cash or risk your life.
Let me tell you what happened to me 3 days ago.
Okay.
I was driving and there was a little fault with my car. And around the Bagada area, coming close to New Garage, immediately it happened. I just parked and I called the mechanic. And not long after, some young men just came around. Of course, they helped me push it away from the road. And I parked it where it is safe for the mechanic to come, and he fixed it. But, before I knew, 1, 2, 3, they were up to like 7. They were talking and saying, immediately I parked the car, they wanted to extract money from me. I said, they've not fixed the car. What do you want me to give to you? You have to fix my car. They started looking at me. Oh, guy, if you say you're not, one walked away. I didn't call him. Then another one started talking. I said, where is your father's house in Lagos here? Where is your father's house? I asked him a question. Because some of these people are not actually from here. And I had to make sure that I questioned what they were doing. Then some other person were saying, more or less like they are my younger brothers, that they just need to drink water. So it was premised on that I felt, okay, they spoke nicely. Let me just also be a big brother. And I parted with 1,000. Then one other raised an issue. I said, bros, we are many here now. I said, did you see cash? Did you even see cash? Where is the cash? Somebody said, no cash. So they eventually collected that. But because they spoke nicely, I said, bros, just let's have some water on you. That's all. We're your younger ones. We're going to stay here with your car. Nothing will happen to it. And because they spoke sensibly, and because if we won't be street, I go be streeter. So because of that, I think I did that. So I feel that the Lagos State government has a very big work to do.
Professor Kunnu.
Yes, sir.
In everything you said since morning, there's only one thing I'm picking out, and I'm relating it to what happened in 1993.
Go ahead, sir.
When the late MQ Abiola declared himself the winner
of election. Yes, sir.
Do you remember, Professor Kunnu, that the government, the military government led by Babangida then?
Yes, sir.
What they charged him for was a treasonable felony.
And that happened at Songotedo, just on the island here.
Yes,
don't forget. Yes, sir.
Just because he declared himself the winner of that election.
Yes, please.
Now the question is, how different is that Peter Obi from this scenario? That's number one.
Yeah.
Then is Peter Obi different from the people we are talking about right now that they rigged the election? If an election has come and gone and you are not satisfied with it, the next thing to go to the court. Rather than trying to hit up the policy. He has made an error this morning or since yesterday by declaring himself as the winner of that election. That statement alone can bring fire to a nation where people are not informed enough.
Let me say that God will bless you for helping me get this vindication. I told them that those lines, and don't forget, I referred to 1993 elections while I was speaking earlier, sir, that we have to be careful of the line. He could have chosen other words. Because there is... Yes, sir. Go ahead, please.
Professor Kunnu, at this right time, at this moment, choice of words is golden.
Yes, sir.
It's extremely important that we watch what we say. Every letter matters.
Yes, sir.
Every word matters. Every sentence matters. We should be extremely careful. Our personal interest should not overpower national interest. For crying out loud, it's not different from these people that we are talking of. That is why I keep on saying I've been involved actively in politics over the years since 1999.
Yes,
if I must say, and for me, I don't see anything different from 1999 till now, and I don't see any angel amongst all these persons. I sent a message yesterday when the program was going on, and my message was: until we follow ideology and not religion and ethnicity, we will never get it right.
All right.
We will never get it right.
But I want to say thank you very
guys.
much. Thank you very much for what you've done. And I'm very happy that somebody listened and was able to pick that line. I thought if he was going to say welcome to me and just give me a ball. If you, by the way, thank you for the water. Thank you for that water yesterday. It saved my life.
Welcome.
That water saved my life. If the cashless policy almost finished
Oh
me.
no!
The water saved my life.
I'm glad that I could help in my own little way.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So how you doing?
I'm very well, thank
I think
you.
we have more calls coming.
Yes, so let's get this.
Hello.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning to you. What's your name and location, sir?
Oh, my name is Mr. Lavanji. I'm calling from Ajah.
Okay, what do you have to tell us? Go ahead, sir.
Okay, well, I just want to appeal to the candidates of PDP and LP not to go to court.
Okay.
If they go to court, I can remember that there is no election that we have made in this country. Barely we have to go to court with almost everything.
Yeah.
President Buhari himself has the number of times that he went to court on conclusive election, rigging election, and all this. But when it is his time, he was able to sail through.
Yeah.
I did not vote for Ashwaju. He wasn't my candidate on the presidential election. But the three, I look at the three of them, there is one of them that is a foreigner. We are all Nigerians. And the common goal of the voters, the voters, is to have good leadership for this country.
That's true.
So if that is our goal, why can't just allow what has done for the past to go, not to spoil the things that are coming ahead? Let's pray for him.
Okay.
That he do well. If he doesn't do well, we have a common ground again to campaign against him in the next election so that you can vote another person.
All right.
Whatever the INEC and umpire has done, let it be for them. It will be a shame on them, and it will be. And I hope their conscience will judge them for whatever the weak and purposes they are done to install whatever to do what is not right.
Thank you very much, Ify. I know you're doing your research as well regarding the
absolutely, and the reason why I am doing this is because we understand that particularly these elections, and with a lot of voter education and people understanding the provision of the Electoral Act, one thing that has been very debatable are the semantics used in the Electoral Act, where people are debating the difference between and, you know, the specific 25%, and the discretion that the Electoral Act has given to the INEC to choose how the votes will be transmitted. So I wanted to actually see the words exactly that MKO used at the time to declare himself president, and the words that, you know, Peter Obi used to say that Labour Party actually won. Because I want to know, because at the end of the day, I know that in the court of law, the choice of words are very important.
Oh, very key, very key.
Exactly.
Very key.
Good morning. My name is Leo. I'm calling from Ikotu.
All right, welcome.
Yes, I want to appreciate you for your program.
Thank you very much.
Kunnu, you're doing a great job.
Thank you, sir.
One of the things I want to really suggest is that, like the last, I think the caller for the last day, we should not raise this bills of people declare themselves as the winners and all of that at the airline. I don't think that these two scenarios are the same. And I think that it would be very, very mischievous for anybody to begin to raise that kind of line of thought. And I think we should just be guided. We want people to go to court, and he says he wants to go to court. I don't think the guy has made any implementary statement since the beginning of this election.
Okay.
Both the election, during the election, and even after this election, he's not made any statement that suggests that he wants war, he wants trouble, and we should give it to him.
All right, so Kunnu, I have been able to pull up the speech of MKO Abiola at the time, right? That you know, obviously they had charged him for treason.
Yes.
And here's what he had to say at the time. He said, and I quote, "As of now, from this moment, a new government of national unity is in power throughout the length and breadth of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, led by me, Bashir MKO Abiola, as President and Commander-in-Chief. The National Assembly is hereby reconvened. All dismissed governors are reinstated. The state assemblies are reconstituted, as are all local government councils. I urge them to adopt a bipartisan approach to all the issues that come before them at the national level. A bipartisan approach will be our guiding principle. I call upon the usurper, General Sani Abacha, to announce his resignation forthwith, together with the rest of his illegal ruling council. We are prepared to enter onto negotiations with them to work out the mechanics for a smooth transfer of power.
Bam.
So that's his speech, right? Now I'll take excerpt from Peter Obi's statement when he was addressing the press. And here's what he said. Obviously, this is majorly where he emphasized on the Labour Party winning the election. He said, and I quote, "We will explore all legal and peaceful options to reclaim our mandate. We won the election and we will prove it to Nigerians."
Good.
So I want to ask you, Kunnu.
Yes, please.
So with that statement from Peter Obi and with the clear declaration from MK Abiola declaring himself president and obviously carrying out certain directives, and with what Peter Obi said, which was that we won, not him mentioning I should be the president-elect or I'm now the president-elect, as according to what the Labour Party has observed during the election. Dare I say that, based on semantics, they're clearly two different things?
Quite frankly, there is no room for comparison because that statement made by Abiola obviously would unsettle any sitting government.
Absolutely.
It's more or less like an affront or questioning the constituted authority of the land directly. So for MK Abiola, if I were president, quite frankly, it would have unsettled me.
Yes.
Because more or less like I don't exist anymore. And that is why we have to also look at the legitimacy of what any constituted authority has done.
Okay.
The only thing that shares little similarity with what MK Abiola said was when he said we won the election. And that's for Peter Obi.
Yes.
But every other thing he said could not have amounted to unsettling the country. But you see, people hear and people listen. Some people just hear what they say, and some people listen. So only very few people listen. I've been misquoted many times by callers this morning. Thank God Obinna was closest to me for observing some of those things. If not, it would have gone as if Kunnu said it. So when people say certain things, in fact, some people would read you, and even when they read you, the meaning conveyed from what you said may actually be misunderstood. So I think that for the purposes of those who perhaps are reckless, anytime they say things or anytime they quote you, anytime they want to act upon what you say, it is important to actually guide people and prevent any escalation of any kind of violence that people are willing to unleash because they are dissatisfied. So for what Peter Obi had said, I think that the only line was, we won this election. Every other thing he said was what is expected of a true leader who expect people to toe the line of law and order, which I must commend him for. But I only appeal that in continuing engagements with media, he has to just keep that thing on the back of his mind, that there are some reckless people out there across board. They're in the APC, they're in the PDP, they're in the Labour Party, who could want to unleash violence. So I think that is it.
All right, thanks, Kunnu. Let's take more calls.
Yes, please.
Good morning. Who's speaking, please?
Hello, good morning, Mr. Kunnu.
Good morning, sir.
Good morning.
My name is Roger Omotosho.
Oh.
I'm calling from Ikeja this morning.
Benga Omotosho. Yes, sir.
My name is Duro.
Go ahead, yes.
Okay. Is it possible for a candidate who doesn't have an agent in any most of the polling booths to actually have an evidence in court? I think, to the best of my knowledge,
yes, sir.
A result sheet needed to be signed by every agent at the polling booth.
Yes, sir.
So in a situation where a particular candidate doesn't have agents in majority of the polling units, how can he fight that cause in the court of law? How can he win?
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
All right, thank you very much.
All right. We normally do things mathematically. If at a polling unit you have 17 out of 18 political parties, they can sign.
Absolutely.
It is your own responsibility as a political party to provide an agent to monitor an election. So if an agent is not there representing a party, the party takes full responsibility.
Yes.
And INEC will not be held responsible because if your party member or your agent was there, he or she would have signed on behalf of whoever is actually vying for a political post. So I think that INEC can be absolved of every blame. and it is you as a political party that should provide an agent that should sign for you. So others will sign, and the election is just validated.
Okay, Lagos Talks. Hello.
Yeah, hello, good afternoon.
Hi, good morning.
Yeah, sorry, good morning. This is Austin. I'm calling back again.
Okay,
All
Austin,
right,
thank you, sir.
Prof, I'm trying to get something
Yes,
straight
sir.
right here.
Yes, sir.
For me, as far as I'm concerned, what Obi would have said was, I am not satisfied with the outcome of this election. I am going to court.
Okay, sir.
I'm not saying I won. There's a reason I'm saying this. So
Yes, sir.
I'm your friend on Facebook. You know, I was the guy who wrote you a lengthy letter on Facebook, and I told you I would not comment on your page.
Okay, sir. Okay, sir. I remember that.
Yes. So,
Duro Jayo
so
Motor Show.
I'm a trained journalist. I work with the likes of Jumba and Ben Chasobi Jr.
Okay, so you can send me another message
are getting
today.
it.
Yes, sir. Good.
Yes, people are getting it wrong. That statement, I won. People are getting it wrong. As I speak to you now, my Facebook page has been bombarded with a lot of rhetoric, a lot of explanations, a lot of how. In fact, I talk to you now, somebody even sent me a message and sent me a graph that Obi won more than 70% of the election in Lagos State. We are saying, I'm serious. And people are using strong words. That's what I'm saying. Professor,
Yes,
there
sir.
are statements and there are a fact statement.
Okay.
I hope you understand what I'm saying.
I do, sir.
There are statements and there are a fact statement.
Mm-hmm.
When you make a statement, one or two persons might get you wrong, might get you well for what you have said. And then 1,000 persons might get you wrong. I think this is what I deduce from the statement you made. And they can take action from there.
Yes. Yes.
Simple statement they will have said is, I am not satisfied with the outcome of this election. We are going to court with our proof. Simple. Not saying I won this election. If I was just opposing it with the 1993 incident, I'm not saying that vis-a-vis that everything with 1993 and this one is the same. But I was only making a comparison. And before you know it, it will be burning. The Tutsi and Hutsi fight that happened, how did it happen? Was it not by statement?
Yes, sir.
These people are cockroaches, kill them by statement. We have to be extremely careful in this country. God bless us.
Thank you.
All right,
very much.
I want to know, are people concerned about the words being used because we understand how governance works in Nigeria? I mean, if it is a democracy and if it is a government for the people, by the people, freedom of speech is one of our rights as, citizens. So with people coming out to express their grievances because they feel like they were disenfranchised, that they were suppressed, and they believe that this particular election was ridden by a whole lot of election malpractice.
Yes,
How
yes.
then are other people that are on the other side of the divide seeing it as a form of anarchy that is waiting to happen? Isn't this a democracy? Aren't people allowed, their own opinions?
You are very correct, Ify. The Constitution guarantees that people have freedom of speech, freedom of association, the freedom even to actually protest, albeit peacefully. But you see, everybody takes responsibility for what comes out of their mouth. Because, as you said when you started, the choice of words actually matter when you go to court.
Absolutely.
And if I took the privilege of the microphone, for instance, and I talk to people and I say, this tribe is the reason why we're not moving forward. And in the same vein, another person comes and says, we should not allow ourselves to be seen as an ethnic group that causes problems. You find out that I've said the same thing, speaking to maybe a tribe that is associated with troubles, but appealing differently to them.
Yes.
And the way such will be analyzed, if it is taken within the precincts of the law, will be different.
Okay.
That is why, for instance, for those of us who are guardians of the industry, as yourself, Ify, our role is to see how we can nurture people towards exercising their rights to be dissatisfied, but being careful not to incite again to violence that will disturb the corporate peace of the entity called Nigeria. And that is where I keep heading. I'm old enough to have seen what happened in 1993. And I'm old enough to have read plenty of books that actually talked about violence, that talked about how people moved from one point that seemed inconsequential to the other. Fidel Castro took over government of Cuba just at a beer parlor. That's why the conversation started. So you may think that what you say is inconsequential, and before you know, that happens. Ade Faransé has said something about there will be a Saul before a David.
Yes.
That statement, they now went and look at what he said years ago about Tinubu, and some never do wells put it together. Excuse me, we have denotative and connotative meanings of what is expressed. What if the Saul is not even ready and the David is not ready? Because there was no date given for a Saul to precede a David in the conversation he gave for people who have followed the trend. So I just think that people who perhaps have not seen violence before should not do anything to actually take away this small. If I could drive here peacefully,
yes,
now because the road free, and for no come here. And I've also told people, some people can just get ticket and run out of here. You want to say in your backyard today, don't go and do it.
So Kunnu, I think that this also brings the chicken and egg situation to the fore, because do you not think that there is a form of dual responsibility from the end of course, the citizenry, as well as the authorities?
Yes,
because if the citizenry feels robbed, if they feel like they were disenfranchised, I feel like it's inevitable they will push back.
Yes.
Whereas the authorities as well should have responsibility, understanding that if they do not function within the ambits of the law, as which everyone is open to and aware of, that it could possibly lead to a state of pushback by the citizens. Don't you think it is dual responsibility as opposed to, because yes, whilst I understand that we're advising people to ensure that whatever it is that they're saying is not inciting, isn't it understood that they also feel robbed?
That is where leadership comes in. Sincerely speaking, I'm married, and I know that the politics of the home front comes up at times. If I look at my wife at times, I know that I say this me boom will make this babe not like him. So what do I do so that I can enjoy the other room? I try. Oh yes, the other room is a reality. I know that is our comfort zone. So what do we do? Because she knows that the other room is our room. But what do you do to make sure there is mutual, loving, and consensual affection shared in the other room and many other rooms of comfort? I look at what has happened, and because I'm also a sharp guy, I do some things to make sure that glow and beauty remains. After all, na babe where I love before I go carry her for Papa house.
Yeah, interesting.
Also, what about my children? It is the same thing. Daddy may know more, but daddy doesn't know everything from their perspective. And at times when we disagree, I could say, I have said this. Then when I retire for the day, I review the approach. And in the morning at times, I know that what I have decided might be for their good, and they don't see the larger picture. So what do? I do the talking to make them see reasons why I have to take that position, so that they'll know that it is in their larger interest that I'm taking that decision. I talked about leadership, Ify. When I was, as a core member, Ifoma, I was the... Ifunaya, my apologies, Ifunaya.
No worries.
Okay. No, as a core member, I was the leader. I was the core president.
Okay.
Where I served. And I had a lot of ethnic groups that I was dealing with.
Okay.
Sincerely, Ify, that was one of the most torturous parts of my post-university years.
Interesting.
Because people with divergent opinions, thank God they didn't accuse me of touching their money. In fact, the financial secretary did. But they thought I foisted certain ideologies that I had on them. I knew, Ify, that I know better than a lot of them. I single-handedly wrote a constitution, and I said, up until I became the corp president, there was not a rule book. And I prepared a constitution, and I brought it to one of our meetings, and many people who never thought of it said, you alone cannot write it. I said, I didn't write it for it to be taken hook, line, and sinker. I wrote it for us to have a guideline. You people can review it. That's still trouble. I was trying to provide solution. They felt I did not follow the process, and they dealt with me. But what did I do? Because I led people, I had to take it in and read it through. The president, INEC chairman, if he has to hold press conference every afternoon reassuring Nigerians that those of you that were disenfranchised will take full responsibility for what you have done. You cannot just say there's a president-elect. Mediative approach is very significant in resolving this problem. President Baba Buhari, who understands the temperament of the youth in this country, 26 million of them were supposed to be part of this election. Just the youth demography. I expected him, even if it is one statement of 30 minutes, young people of this country, I am the president. I assure you people that I'll give you good elections. From the report I have garnered as the president, certain things did not go well. But please, could you be calm so that the courts can help us resolve this? I also assure you that as the president, the judiciary will do the right thing. I think that a lot of calm would have been seen, a lot of tension would have been doused, a lot of reactions would have been better managed. If a leadership is very serious,
absolutely,
and that is where the person of Professor Mahmoud Yakub and President Muhammadu Buhari need to come in right now. You don't just leave things hanging. You have to consistently be in their faces. The same way you would always be in the faces of people if you want to things from them, you also have to do so. He went to Kaduna and he was begging them, begging Kaduna State that this is the APC governorship candidate. We beg you, vote for him. I know that the Naira policy has not been favorable. He was begging in Kaduna yesterday. So if the president could beg Kaduna people, he should also appeal to the citizens because you've raised a valid point.
Absolutely. Therein lies a large chunk of the problem. The gap when it comes to trusting the government at hand, because there's a clear gap between the people and the government, and that disconnect is the issue,
is the issue.
Where the people already have a large mistrust of the existing government, and you're not instilling any form of confidence in them. How then do you expect them to respond or to react?
My people have a saying in Yoruba, that means if somebody calls you a thief, you should not be found with a goat child or a kid.
There you go.
You have to just, if somebody says you are doing this and you hear that you're doing that, everything that will make them keep pointing fingers at you should not be done. Some people have said the president is somebody who doesn't talk much. I don't want to hear that badadash. He campaigned across this country and was using the mic to talk to people.
Absolutely.
So how could you assume the office and you are not talking anymore? In fact, you talk more when they have voted you to office. So that is what the leadership of the country must do.
We'll need to wrap this up, but I think that these are conversations that need to continue because now people's eyes are on the judiciary. It's on the law courts, and they're hoping that, because already even before the issues that we had during the election, we already had a lot of negatives coming from the court process,
very correct,
the cumbersome court processes that we've been seeing in the country, and so people are wondering if all these things have already existed prior to this, will there really be any results that will be appealing to the citizens coming from the courts?
Yesterday, I deliberately told Kaede to do an analysis of the justices of the Supreme Court. We have 13 of them right now. The most senior will likely sit because this case will likely get to the Supreme Court.
Absolutely.
So you may have like 7 of them who will sit. And I told people, because I went as far with Kaede yesterday to break down how many houses do we have. How many Yorubas do we have? How many Igbos do we have? Those from northern extraction were 7. The Yorubas were about 3 or 4.
Okay.
The rest, some Igbo people. And of course, I think another person from maybe a south, because I couldn't actually determine the location of that justice from the name. And I said, some people said, Akunu, why do you have to do? I said, listen, we know certain antecedents in this country when people actually sit as justices of the Supreme Court. And at times, we cannot leave anything to chance. This is the University of Lagos Talks. We take things bit by bit and analyze the details. What is the likelihood that if it doesn't go this way, because this person actually is from here, will it go the other way or will be a deadlock? And I also told somebody that when you have like 7 justices of the Supreme Court sit, don't forget it's going to be a game of numbers. If 4 people say yes to Peter Obi, he gets his mandate. If 4 people say yes to Tinubu, he gets the mandate. So that is also a factor of numbers, factor of ethnic leaning. We cannot deceive ourselves into thinking that the ethnic, the tribal, the cultural and religious sentiments are invalid in any conversation. The intellection is key, but all of these indices that I've over mentioned are very pivotal to certain decisions that we made. That's the truth.
We are Lagos Talks 91.3.
Let's talk.